Hello everyone and welcome to this video. I just think that I've been wanting to do this for such a long time and I just thought, well, that'd be a good time to do it. So, yep, I played some Mercenaries just for this because I love this game so much. It's weird. But without further ado, all I'm going to say is that there are spoilers for Resident Evil 6 in this video. So yeah, if you haven't played it, then don't watch this. But if you don't care, like the rest of us, then stick around. Because these are my top 10 Resident Evil 6 music tracks. Number 10. In 10th place spot is Entrust Oneself to the Future, which, if you didn't know, is the music that plays during the Pier's death scene, which is why I gave that spoiler clarification, because I don't think any other, well, there's some other ones on this list that do give that, like, spoilers away, but that's, like, really the main one that I kept it so it'd be a spoiler video for. But yeah, you cannot really talk about this game and its music without talking about this track in particular because of how sad it is, and in the moment, I tear up every time I hear it, with or without the cutscene to go along with it, or without having played it beforehand. I just love this track mostly. The only thing that holds it back is like the end portion where it's just like more of the house music, and it's like, okay, we're done. I don't care. This track should have ended when it went silent after the very sad part, if you know what I'm talking about, like the strings and all that. And I think that other than the very end, which is why this is in 10th place, just this track is pretty dang good. Number 9. In ninth place we have Collections, which is the track that plays when you were looking at all the files and the figures, and it's kind of muffled, but on YouTube you can find it. I'll probably leave a link to it in the description, and on its own it is really good. It's a really jamming track. I think it does not fit in this game whatsoever, but the fact that it came out of this game is probably one of my favorite things, because this game is just one of those games where it's like, okay, what is going on? And this track being in the game is kind of like that, but more in a good way than how most of the fans view this game. But yes, Collections, really good track, really good like country type thing. And I do not like country music in the slightest, but this track is in my top 10. I love this track so much. It's a fun bop, it's a fun jam, and that's basically all I gotta say about it. If you haven't heard it, it's a definite listen to, so yeah. Number 8. In 8th spot, we have Floating Nightmare, which is the final boss theme for Leon and his campaign. Like, think the Big Bug Simmons fight. Now, this theme, I don't know what it is. Maybe it was the fact that because when I first played RE6, I played through Leon's campaign 10 times to get every single campaign complete on the record screen, from amateur to No Hope. And this battle, the final boss in New Hope, was a mess. It took me a couple hours, and just having Floating Nightmare stuck in my head the whole time, maybe that's why it's so high, or at least in my top 10. But I freaking love this track. It is like it's different from the other two. Obviously, it's like, I don't know how I could even describe it, but it, like, the way the drums beat, it kind of feels like a jazzy track in a way, and that's probably why I like it so much. Um, and again, like Collections and even Entrust Oneself to the Future, I forgot to mention that, but all of these are on YouTube, and you can listen to them. And you probably wouldn't like care about this one, but I like this one a lot, so I listen to it sometimes. But Floating Nightmare, really good freaking track. Love it a lot. Number 7. Number 7 on my list is Emergency Situation 2, which plays when the missile that Chris and Piers failed to destroy lands, or should I say explodes, in the city of Tachi. And I think that this music track, like, I don't know what it is, why it really gets to me, because throughout the whole campaign, whether it's Leon's or Chris's, you've seen the destruction of property and people, and for whatever reason, this track and the cutscene that goes along with it makes it feel so much more impactful than it really should be, and it just hypes me up every time. When the big drum beat plays at the end, I like jump in my seat. I'm like, yes, 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 keep going. And then the cutscene ends with a nice pan and zoom out of what's going on, and it is utter chaos. And I think that's why this track and the cutscene that accompanies it just work so well together in this game, where a lot of the things and ideas that were put to plate do not go together well. Other than that, but that's basically all I gotta say about number 7. Number 6. For 6, I have The Trap, which is from Chris's campaign when Finn gets murdered and turned into one of those weird enemies. I don't remember the names of the big rock guys, I guess you could say. Now, I do not really care for Finn or like Chris's like love for his companions and all that. That whole plot point and character point is it's so stupid. But I don't know why, but whenever I watch the cutscene, and again, it's a cutscene thing that really has me in the feels. Same with Emergency Situation 2. The Trap just gets to me, and I feel like I get in the feels whenever I see Chris reach for Finn, and the music just is so heart-wrenching. I cannot help but fall in love with it. And that's basically it for number 6. Number 5. For 5, I have The Ties That Bind, from Leon's campaign, not Ada's, because in Ada's it's whatever, but in Leon's campaign, it is a nice reference to not only a trophy name in Resident Evil 4, but the original Resident Evil 2. So, a little backstory. When you defeat Krauser in Resident Evil 4, you get a trophy called The Ties That Bind, and it's like, whatever that means. But in Resident Evil 2, Ada has a theme, and it's like a piano melody with the flute, and you've probably heard it and know it if you're a Resident Evil fan. It is so good. So, I had not played the original Resident Evil 2 and did not know about the track before I had heard The Ties That Bind in the Leon campaign. So I played through Leon's campaign and thought, wow, this track, I don't really care for it. But then, I play Resident Evil 2 and I hear it, and I'm like, oh! And then everything fit into place to make The Ties That Bind from Leon's campaign to be put in my 5th spot. Number 4. My 4th spot, I have Ustanak Immolated, No More Holding Back. So here we have a Jake campaign one, and I cannot just... All I really have to say about this one is that the bass, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The bass in this track is so good. And, like, basically the bass and the horns in that one little tiny section just makes this track so good. I also kind of like how near the end of it kind of gets like emotional for a second, even though it doesn't make any sense. But I think that the frickin' bass part with the drums and everything and horns just really gets me pumped and ready to fight Ustanak and take that fricker down for once and for all. Like, it's so dang good. Love this track nearly to death. Number 3. In my 3rd place spot, I have At the End of a Long Escape. Here we are again with the Jake campaign music tracks. And at the end of A Long Escape, when I first heard it, I laughed and laughed and laughed. I was like, are you serious? Is this actually in the game? And yes, a song with actual lyrics is in a Resident Evil game. And at first I thought it was sung by Troy Baker, which made it even funnier. But it wasn't. So, not like I really care, but it was just hilarious to hear an actual song with the cheesiest lyrics and a campaign that seemed to be about romance that didn't really go anywhere at all, which adds to how funny the track is. But in reality, I freaking love the song. I love how stupid and cheesy it is. I sing it to myself sometimes, and I can't get over just how stupid it is and how much I love it. I have fallen in love with At the End of a Long Escape. If you haven't heard it, it's good for like a few chuckles. So, like I said with a couple of the other ones, they're all on YouTube. Go listen to it. Number 2. In second place, the runner-up, we have Trouble with Women, which is the it's like the end theme from the final cutscene in Leon's campaign, where they're in the graveyard. And I think that the track is really well put together. It feels like there's actual emotion to it. I've teared up while listening to it multiple times, and I think that it's a beautiful, nice little track with like nothing really too spectacular in it to like make it like one of the weird wacky tracks that just sounds like basic Resident Evil 6 music, but it has that levity to it that makes it sound so lovely. And like I said, I have shed tears. So yeah, that's basically like Trouble with Women, man. Such a good track. And for honorable mentions, I have Pull the Throttle, Leon vs. Chris, Heat on Beat, which is the music that is playing right now in the background in the Mercenaries mode, Searching For, Emergency Situation 1, The Town, and their results theme screens for Leon, Chris, and Jake. That's right, I don't really care about Ada's result theme. And my number 1 pick is Invasion of Darkness, which is the main title theme. I love this track so much. It represents everything about Resident Evil in so many ways. I cannot tell you how much I listen to this track. It doesn't matter what version it is, whether it's Leon's, Chris's, Jake's, or Ada's. I love all 4 of them, and the main one on the main menu is like my absolute favorite. But I couldn't just put all 5 of them on this list. That'd be tedious. So I decided, frick it. All 5 of them are going on this list in the first place spot, because they're basically the same song with just some things like overlapped, and I think that's perfectly fine. I think that Invasion of Darkness perfectly represents Resident Evil 6 as a whole, with how it sounds cheesy, stupid, good for whatever reason, and it just feels like it shouldn't. It feels like it's not taking itself seriously, which this game is 100% not trying to, unless you're playing Chris's campaign and watching the cutscenes, or you're Helena Harper. But yeah, this track, Invasion of Darkness, boy, oh boy, it is a music track that I have forever in my mind as the one thing that I think of when I think of Resident Evil 6 music, and why I love this game so much. And that is basically all I have to say about this really stupid, freaking horrible game. I'm just kidding. I love this game to death, no matter what people say. But yeah, that was my top 10 music tracks for Resident Evil 6.